Today's adventure begins as the recording of this Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. You see the bus stops over there. I'm in St. Cloud, Florida, my former hometown and the town that my family moved to in 1991 when I was 17 years old. An assortment of my first retail jobs were right here. I probably worked 15 years, well, 10 or 15 years retail in St. Cloud, and then another 10 years, give or take a year, between the twin cities of St. Cloud and Kissimmee, if you want to call them cities, more like towns. In 1991, I started at a Publix just across the street that I will go over to. It's now a gym. And I stopped working retail places when I quit the feed store in St. Cloud in 2011. So for 20 years, I was punching a clock, working retail, helping customers, loading groceries, stocking shelves, placing orders, etc., etc. But right here, in 1995, 96, 97, don't know the exact year, but mid-90s, I sat right here on this bench, well, one of these two benches, because the bus stop used to be not where it is now, which is right over there. It used to be right here, and I lived at Simpson Ridge Apartments up on the Kissimmee-St. Cloud border on Simpson Road, across from the Kmart. I would take the bus down here, get off the bus, or I would ride my bike, but most of the time I would take the bus. And when I would take the bus home from working at this Walmart, I sat right here and I came up with the completely pointless, meaningless name that I use as my stage name, Adam the Woo, right over here on the second bench, right there. It means nothing, has no meaning. Just came up with it. I was using it on return stamps. I'll explain a little bit. I've explained this before, but I'll reiterate as well. But I wanted to start the video right here. Welcome everyone, Adam the Woo here. Cheers to 30 years ago? 30 years ago. Sitting right here, not knowing where the inconsequential, pointless, meaningless name of Adam the Woo would take me, or be using it for this channel, becoming the name that is synonymous with me filming myself every day, would start right here. Originally, that was not the intention. By the way, I'm inviting you to join me on a stroll through memory lane and a thank you. Later this month is Thanksgiving, and I have a lot to be thankful for. I am very grateful. What is, over the last 30 years, the progress of my life and what I'm able to do for a living, what I'm able to do for a quote-unquote job, as unusual and bizarre of a job as it is. The escalation and the evolution of timeline really is an amazing thing, and it all started with, the access to the internet. The internet, is full of not good things, not all positive things, but the internet and being able to be self-employed based on what I do, and there are others who do things different than what I do when it comes to creating things, selling things, doing rideshare stuff, doing food delivery, doing, anything, selling things online. None of that existed as easily as it does now. 1995, no cell phones, couldn't go on your computer and someone's saying something. Starbucks is right over there, right across the street in that other parking lot. No problem. Nonetheless, I'm inviting you to join me. Let's have a little chat. I'll go by some of my former jobs, go downtown, St. Cloud, Florida. I have a STC tattoo right here. You You can see it, STC. I have a lot of memories here. St. Cloud is a lot of fond memories in St. Cloud. Moving here when I was 17 in 1991. Join me. Thank you. Shall you? And I believe that was the third retail job working grocery that I had, just in this little tri-road area. The 3 roads, the Super Walmart behind me. And when I started at Walmart, it was after I worked at Publix first, from 91 to 95. And then Winn-Dixie from 95 to 96. Okay, so behind me would have been 97, probably to 90, 96 to 98. Because I worked at Publix 4 years, or 3 years at Publix. And then I was over at the Winn-Dixie over there, which is now an Aldi and a Staples right over there. I'll walk over there. And then after that, I did a year here at this Walmart, and I worked in the grocery department. I was overnight, and then I went to daytime dairy department. And I quit that. Then I went to Kissimmee, Florida, which is just up the road. And I worked at that Kmart for 5 years, and on and on and on. Office Max in Kissimmee for 5 years. A lot of retail work. But it all started right here in 3 places. The old Publix over there, which is now a gym. The Winn-Dixie right here. And then after quitting that, went over to Walmart, which used to be over there, which is now a Goodwill. And that was when they were becoming a regular Walmart to a super Walmart. And they were transferring everything over here. And I started before any products were in the store. There was not one thing on the shelves. In fact, when I first walked in as a new hire going from the other Walmart to this one, and the changeover, there was nothing in this building, not even shelving. We walked in the door, there was a group of like 20 or 30 of us that walked in, and you could see all the way to the back milk coolers. And then we set the shelves up, stocked the shelves. I think we had a couple months before the store opened. Was working a lot of overtime, 60, 70 hours a week, preparing the store for opening. Then that tapered back into regular full-time status of 40 hours a week after the doors opened. And then I worked there about a year and a half before I went up to Kissimmee and got a job at Kmart for 5 years. And then, onward from there. Anyway, it's a lot to take in, but yeah, I just wanted to state that. But to talk a little bit more, and again, I've stated this before, but for those who have not heard the story, I was sitting there kind of bored waiting for the Lynx bus to arrive to take me up into Kissimmee to Simpson Road to my Simpson Ridge Apartments homestead, a little small place I had up there. And I bought a stamp set. There was a stamp set. You would flip it open, took some tweezers so you could pull the individual letters out, and you could create a return address stamp pad. And that was back when I was really into going to punk rock shows, pre-internet, and the way you would get on a band's mailing label where they could send you info and tour dates and all that through snail mail was to sign up at their merch booth and you put your address down. And I thought, oh, it'd be kind of neat to have an alias and put that down and see if bands would send me something to my alias. So I came up with a couple of kind of wacky names. Adam the something, Adam the something else, Adam, just random. I can't even remember some of the other ones I had. And then I just put WOO. I thought Adam the Woo, put my address in for my Simpson Ridge Apartments. And that was the stamp pad that I used, that when I would mail, okay, I take that back. I'd put that name down also, but then I would use it, at the shows, the punk rock shows, for their mailing lists. But I would also use it when I would mail off to bands for free stickers and pins and things like that. I would use that. That way, when they would send back the self-addressed stamped envelope, it would come back to the stamp that I had on there, Adam the Woo. Years went by, started selling on eBay in the late 90s, 99 I believe it is, when I started that eBay account, which I hardly ever use, haven't used in a long time. That was what I used for that, Adam the Woo. Social media stuff started popping up, the MySpace days, even pre-MySpace stuff that doesn't even exist anymore. And I would use those as my screen name. And then when YouTube started, I logged in as that. That was my screen name way before I did these, videos, these daily vlogs and things like that, or even the main channel. And that was my main channel login name. So it just kind of became a thing. And that's the explanation. Let's get on with today. I'm reiterating that, but I know some people don't know. Let's get going. The name just kind of popped up by accident with no real rhyme or reason to any of it. And it's hard to believe that, next year, this year or next year, give or take a year, it'll be 30 years ago. And now it's just a common name. A name is just such a weird thing. It's kind of like bands and their names. When you first hear it, you're like, that's a weird name. But then once it's on the tip of the tongue all the time, you never think about it anymore. It's just how someone is known as. So this Staples here used to be Winn-Dixie. I worked at this Winn-Dixie a year and a half. 94, 95 I worked right here. Now it's a Staples. This Sidelines place has been here forever. That was there even when Winn-Dixie was a spot. Winn-Dixie took over 2 storefronts, Staples and the Aldi. Many times I worked overnight, so I'd show up at 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. I should say. Park in the parking lot at 9:50, go in, clock in at 10. I'd work till 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, sometimes later than that, depending on when the store was done being stocked. There was no 8-hour you clock, because you weren't helping customers. You didn't have like a shift, an official shift. Your shift was over when the store was stocked and the truck was unloaded and the shelves on your aisle and other people's aisles were done. So sometimes I'd work till, a 12-hour shift. Sometimes you get out at 7 or 8, sometimes you get out at 10. But many times I would sit right there in one of these parking spots and think, I really have no desire to go in tonight. Many, many times I sat right there in my car looking at the sign and really thinking, man, overnight again, while everyone else is sleeping. They're stocking the peas on aisle 5. I'm across the street now at this Tractor Supply, Goodwill, and Dollar Tree. Used to be the old Walmart pre-Supercenter days. And that's where I got hired to start the Supercenter aspect. And then on the back side of this building was the first job I ever had, which was at Publix. That predated Walmart. That Value Pawn used to be an old Blockbuster too. That was a little later on, but yeah, that used to be a Blockbuster. There is a CF Fitness right up there. That was the old Publix that I started working at in 91. My family first moved here. The first job I ever had, with the exception of mowing yards, under the table for people in the town, and you follow Oklahoma, just a couple yards here and there just to give me a little spending money. But as far as an official job, that was it. Publix was right there. I'd park my car out here. I had an 84 Ford LTD that was always breaking down, and sometimes I'd park it in this spot, park it in that spot, and I would walk into work, and then the car would be broken down, starter would be out, the battery would be dead. So many hours I stood right out here trying to fix my piece of crap car in these parking spots, and that was early 90s. 91 to 94. There was a brief time I went over to Buenaventura Lakes BVL and worked at that Publix, but most of the time I was in this Publix right here. And my car, my old, on its last leg car, was parked right over here. That breeze feels good. Whenever I reminisce about stuff like this, it really kind of hits you hard on where you came from, where you are now, the thought process. It's easier to wrap your head around it and really visualize it when you go back and visit places like this. And really the only reason that separates me, well, I take that back, not necessarily, because there are certain things I probably would be able to do now, based on what I said about, being self-employed on the internet is a little bit easier than it was before. Back in the 90s, if you weren't working for someone, or you weren't punching a clock and having an official boss, you would be broke. You'd have no money. But now you can kind of make a little bit of residual income here and there you know, just by doing stuff in this day and age. So it is a little easier. So I probably would have found something other to do than doing these YouTubes, but even with YouTube, I just stumbled on it. I had no idea I would ever be able to make an income, make a living wage as time went on and things progressed. If I could go back to myself right here trying to get my car to start, not knowing why the jumper cables weren't working or the battery or anything like that, having to get my dad to come give me a ride back home, come back and get the car. Thinking, man, is this car ever gonna, what's going on with this car? It's also wild to think that up until I quit the feed store in 2011, 20 years of working retail, I was just barely getting by. I was not able to ever get out of debt and save money until I quit working for someone. I know that sounds insane when you say it out loud, but until I quit working a traditional style job, I was always struggling, always struggling. And I think a lot of that has to do with when I started doing what I'm doing. Because there was not a lot of people really doing it early on. And I think I got in on the ground floor. And I think because I got in on the ground floor, and so many people were watching, supporting each day by tuning in, even though the numbers were very small, started to creep up, started to give me a little income based on the ads, on the views, and all that. I've explained how all that works. So anyone that's been around all this time, or anyone that's just stumbled on this channel, you know, even in the last year, or even 6 months, or even if, heck, if this is your first time even tuning in, thank you. Because without anyone watching, probably be across the street over there, where the Winn-Dixie was, probably working at Staples, working at Publix still. I'd probably be working at Publix. Publix is a good company to work for. That's probably where I would be right now if it was not for the progress of my life. So thank you. Pennsylvania Ave. Good old STC. St. Cloud. Right here on Pennsylvania Ave was the apartment I had, the second story above a storefront, where I decided I was going to quit my job, was going to move into a van that I had, that I was using when I was in a local band that I bought for us to tour like a week or two out of every year, which really did not really serve that purpose too well. So I thought, I have a van, why don't I just live in the van, downsize, sleep in the van, travel, and concentrate on doing YouTube. Just go out on adventures, travel the US, show things. I thought only if just a few people watch. And the thing that I always had in the back of my head was, if I'm doing something interesting, something unique, something odd, traveling across the country, I can't be the only person that would be into that. There's got to be other people out there that might be into that. And it slowly trickled in. People found the videos, and it was the first creative thing I ever did in my life that I didn't have to approach anyone about. You know, when I was in a band, you have to go hand flyers out, things like that. You have to basically twist people's arm to go to shows. But with the videos, you just throw them up and people find them. Whether you like it or not, people will find them. If you put something interesting out there, and that just blew my mind. And that's why it resonated with me on that's what I needed to be doing, and that's why I'm still doing it to this day. So right up here on the corner of 11th and Pennsylvania was the apartment that I lived in. Top of the storefront. When I lived up there was a coffee place across the street, which is since long gone. Now it's a boutique. But I would use the Wi-Fi from the coffee place. Didn't have Wi-Fi of my own. tapped into the Wi-Fi for the nice lady that owned the coffee place. My apartment was one of two, so the door was right there. You'd go up. My neighbor's apartment was there, and I had a little apartment right here on this end, and that was my room on the far end. That was my window. My living room was on this side. My bathroom was right there, and my room was right there. I'd park my van right here. I'd have to move it sometimes for once a week street cleaning. But I could still recall, again, I've talked about this in the past, but I'm down here, so I'm just kind of repeating myself of stuff I've said, over the years. But I could still recall when I had my van parked right here, and even though I was still living there, I went down, inflated the air mattress, bought a cheap air mattress, put it in the back, and slept all night in there. And I thought, I got to test it out. Can I sleep in the back of the van when I am used to sleeping in my own comfortable bed up there? And I did it. And that's when I made the decision, right there, in that spot on the air mattress. I think I'm just going to concentrate on downsizing my stuff. I'm going to move out of the apartment. Lived in the van for a couple months until I was able to catch up on some bills. Then I quit my job on August 9th, 2011, one day before my birthday. And that everything escalated from there. I used to walk all around these streets at night. I would get off work at 6, go home, take a shower, walk up to Save-A-Lot, get some food, come back, watch a DVD, eat my dinner, and then just walk around. I have walked these streets many, many times. And I bet they still have not completed the work in progress up here, this old hotel. Yeah, the St. Cloud Hotel right here. This was the first building when the residents first arrived. The first town folks, while their houses were being built, lived in this very hotel. It is said is extremely haunted. I think people have done ghost huntings and things in it. But over the years, they've been trying to refurb it. And they've been refurbing this thing for so long. I mean, I'm talking far back as I can remember, probably 10 years. And when I was living here at the apartment over there, it was open and I was able to go in, but since then they've started to remodel it, and it's been remodeled. It's been, again, under refurb for a long time. Let me cross over, see if the sign is still over here. This is what it's supposed to look like, the new version of it. I still have this etching here. Let me live in my house by the side of the road and be a friend to man. The old police substation right over there with the clock that does not work. This shows a little bit of the history I was just discussing in a little more detail. The Seminole Land and Investment Company, Hotel St. Cloud, right there. The one that's been under refurb. "35,000 acres of defunct distant sugar plantation," which I've shown that. In fact, the first video I ever did back on New Year's Eve 2009, so basically starting on New Year's Day 2010, I like to say, is the start of my YouTube career, quote-unquote career, on the Adam the Woo channel. But that sugar plantation, I've shown many, many times the abandoned remnants over there. The 35,000 acres eventually is where people started to arrive to live in St. Cloud. And while they were building their homesteads, the original residents lived in the Hotel St. Cloud, which is right over there, sitting unused. Now, over the years, I have become non-reliant. I do not rely on any crowdfunding, viewer funding, any sort of sponsors, anything coming from an outside source monetarily wise. I don't sell merchandise anymore. It's been many years since I've done that. My only source of income comes from the ads I have on the videos. It comes from people watching. And even though I do not have any sort of outside income coming from viewers, which anyone that's watching right now is a viewer, I do realize that anyone that is tuning in And when those numbers are compiled, I make a little bit off the ads that are placed on the videos based on viewership. And I just want to say thank you for anyone that has been watching all this time. Because without you, it would be a lot different. My life would be a lot different. So thank you. This is Joyland Beach Pavilion. 1929, right on the lakeshore. There used to be a pavilion called Joyland Beach. I mean, in 4 years, this is going to be the 100th anniversary of Joyland Beach. Isn't that wild? There used to be there still is a Jammers Music Center over there. Right there, Jammers Music. Now they just do music lessons, but they used to be a music shop. The Jammers in Kissimmee is where I first bought my first bass guitar, my PV bass guitar, which I learned to play bass on and joined a couple bands because of that bass. So I got a lot of history in Osceola County, Kissimmee, St. Cloud. Lakeshore and Ohio Avenue, a place for relaxation and entertainment for the growing town. I feel like the last few years have been kind of an interesting mishmash of the things I've been doing. And I talked about this a couple weeks ago, but I really want to kind of throw it back old school. And really, really excited about 2026 and doing U.S. travels and small towns and road trips and back road stuff and history. 250th anniversary of America, the 100th anniversary of Route 66. I'd also like to attempt to do US 1 from Key West to Maine. I'd also like to attempt to do Lincoln Highway in its entirety. From New York, I believe it is, to San Francisco. And possibly some other highways. But a lot of small towns. Do the colony, the original 13 colonies. Really kind of dive into some of the other states that I haven't really focused on at all or in a long time. I have been to all 50 states, the 48 continental, and also Alaska and Hawaii, but it's time. It's been years. And that kind of goes into my gratitude of being able to do what I do and why I originally wanted to start this channel, and my original channel, the TheDailyWoo channel, and this vlog channel in July of 2012 when I started what you're watching now. I don't know why I'm pointing at the horse, but I'm talking about this channel. I don't really use the main channel anymore. But I think 2026 is really going to be a throwback mentally for myself and also as far as the content that's going out there. So thanks for bearing with me. I really appreciate anyone that's stuck around all these years. I've been doing this a heck of a long time, and I don't want to say it's only just begun, because it's way past just beginning, but I'm excited about, going back to my roots, if you will, of why I originally started doing this. I think I lost track of that. I think I really lost track of that over the last few years. This Pro Auto Detail building has been here for so long. I love this. Look at this. It's like a hand with a rag right there. The extra touch. Pro Auto Detail. Pretty neat. This is cool too. This is J.T. Burbank of the Wonder City. So City of St. Cloud has quite a few nicknames, but one of them is the Wonder City. There you go. Here's a little info on it. Now obviously I'm not going to go back to sleeping in a van full time because I do have the house. But my plan is to stay in, little local motels, maybe stay a day or two in small town areas before moving off to the next region, not be in such a rush to get across the country, and just focus on small town life, tell some stories, talk to some people, and just kind of take it back. That's my goal. Yeah, there's my place. I don't even think there's a business downstairs anymore. I don't think there is. Oh no, it's a barber. There's a barber. No, that's actually no, there is a barber shop. Look, there's a barber pole right in the middle there. That was my living room, right up there. Fun fact. It's crazy to think about. It's crazy to think about. Good times and good progress. What a fun ride it's been. over 15 years. Started at the beginning of 2010, and again, this vlog channel in 2012, which is, I always refer to this as a video diary of sorts, where I just put stuff out there and I can look back on it, other people can watch and enjoy, but also like a history of myself and places I've gone. The old band shell. They just put this plaque up. This plaque was not here before. In 29, the St. Cloud Tribune published a call for the local government to start a beautification program. Again, that was around the same time as Joyland Beach, up at the lakefront. Interesting. On Highway 192, the citizens donated the use of their trucks to transport to the park. Oh, the soil for where I'm standing right now. The community raised $50 to hire a landscape architect to finalize the plans for this park. Native plants were chosen to reduce maintenance. The American Legion donated bricks for the walkways. Artificial pool was later excavated. An artificial pool using machinery from a nearby project. The pool was only a few that had been successfully completed in Florida at the time. In June of 1937, the mayor, Clarence C. Smith, dedicated the park to all veterans of the United States Armed Forces in a large ceremony. Wow, okay. Never knew the history of this. Obviously, the Herschel Gordon Lewis Godfather of Gore horror film from the 60s, they use over here. They built a boulder machine that crushed some people right there. It was all filmed in downtown St. Cloud. 2000 Maniacs was the name of that movie. But I also have some memories here of mid-90s, a punk rock show. Some local bands played here. I was one of I don't know, maybe 100 people in this park that were getting a little circle pit going, swirling around, some stage diving. Probably the one and only time a punk rock and metal show took place here at the band shell. It's been repainted. Yes, I have sat and stood here many, many times, done some thinking, done some reminiscing. Today is no exception, especially when I used to live right over there at the apartment I just showed, which is just over the backside of the Kisselback Ford, which used to be Poffenbaugh Ford. And in the continuation of my travels, and whatever happens at 26 onward, we're taking it back again to my original roots and all that. Still not going to have merch, still not going to need crowdfunding, still not going to request anything from anyone on a financial standpoint. I'm way past that point of needing any kind of monetary help. Doing just fine with how things are working out. But I also want to show my appreciation for anyone over all this time that's always been tuning in, leaving positive comments, spreading goodness out there, the circle of goodness, which I have always referred to it as, but I've but I have rarely mentioned that phrase anymore, which I probably should bring that back. Probably should maybe start making it all enclosed once again. I feel like the last few years have been a kind of a wacky time period. And I've always done Disney, I've always done conventions. The international stuff, even though I am doing a couple more countries, I do enjoy doing it, but man, I love getting in a car, going across the US. And that is getting me so excited to bring it back. So just want to show my appreciation and verbalize my appreciation to everyone that takes the time out of their day, their weeks, their months, or heck, even their years of tuning in. I know people are busy. I'm busy. It's hard for me to even sit down and watch a movie half the time because I'm so, busy doing this, doing other things, and whatnot. So I understand that time is a valuable commodity to a lot of people. And the fact that you are taking time out of your day to listen to what I'm saying right now, it really does mean a lot to me. So thank you. that's about it. That's what I wanted to say. That's gonna do it. Every time I see this, I think of that punk show. It's crazy. Crazy how long ago that was. That was 30 years ago. Where does the time go? My goodness. And that's gonna do it for today. I'll see you in the next video. The vlog is over.